Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. I'm GetGoodGuy, and today we're looking at the updated RSC SMG. That update, as you no doubt gathered from the title and thumbnail, is a boost to its effective range. So how much more viable does this make the weapon? Will it cause more people to use it? And is it the buff that it needed? Well, we'll get to all of those points. What I won't be doing is reviewing the weapon as a whole and comparing it against its competitors, because I've already done that previously, before this update came into place. If you want to catch up on that information, I'll link to the relevant video in the description below and in my pinned comment. Then you can simply take what I say in that video and apply the range buff to it. What you'll see today is footage from both the factory and optical variants, so you have a visual representation of how they perform and the differences between them. There's also a smattering of the semi-auto alternate fire mode included here and there, for those of you who prefer that fire mode or are just curious about its viability. As a quick mention of my opinion on that, for much longer range stuff it can be worth switching to it, but for me, for the most part, I just straight up performed better in the fully automatic fire mode, and most of the areas where the RSC SMG is strong suits that fire mode just fine, as long as you have decent recoil control and aim. But each to their own, of course. Some people will likely prefer the semi-auto mode, so give both a try in order to make up your own mind if you haven't already. Anyway, with that said, what's the range buff all about? Well, essentially the damage drop off of the RSC SMG has been extended further out. The major benefit of this being an apparent increase in the range at which you could put someone down with 3 bullets. I've heard from other sources that this range used to be out to about 12 meters, although I can't confirm this, as when I made my original video about the RSC SMG, there was an error on Simthic.com that wouldn't let me see the in-depth stats. But if we take that 12 meters figure as being correct, then the RSC SMG can now 3-tap an enemy from 8 meters further away, making for an ultimate effective range of 20 meters. This is quite a jump, and it does definitely benefit the weapon. It was already an assault option that actually had somewhat surprising range capabilities due to high bullet damage and a more manageable rate of fire than some competitors, so increasing the damage over certain distances can only be seen as a good thing, although of course at actual longer range it really can't compete, so just keep that in mind as well. But this buff can be combined with the strengths the weapon already had of a fast close quarters time to kill, reliable hipfire, and a strong fun factor in the right hands. But exactly how much more viable does it make the weapon? Well, I'll label it as being somewhat more viable. In modes such as Team Deathmatch and Domination, it can be a pretty strong choice on some maps, but absolutely not all maps. And then in modes such as Conquest and Operations, it can be an okay choice, but again only on certain maps, and once again only in the right hands. What I'm saying is that it's still very limiting to use. I've always enjoyed the weapon. I was one of the few people that seemed to be championing it when it was first released. I think it's very unique and entertaining to use, but as time has gone on, it's begun to feel less special for me, and instead a bit of a hindrance. It still has a purpose and can still be effective, but it just feels like it's really being left behind in the current climate of overall fast times to kill, medic dominance, bipod LMGs, and the consistent close quarters rushing pressure of weapons such as the SMG-08 and the Hellriegel. So while the RSC SMG has received proportionately a pretty big range buff, I feel like it's only been marginally improved as a potential weapon selection. I may have once said that a range buff to this weapon could make it too powerful, and I still believe that, but it would need to be even more of a buff than this, because medics are too strong at mid-range, and only 9 bullets per reload still leaves you screwed at close quarters against multiple enemies. So I don't believe we'll be seeing all that many more people using this weapon, which is a shame, but I totally understand why. If this was the only buff this weapon was going to receive, then I would have rather it got more bullets to utilize per reload. That would have left the user not having to focus on trying to fight individual enemies the vast majority of the time, whilst trying to also stay away from true mid-range to long range. Limiting really is the optimal term here when using the RSC SMG. But if you are going to use this weapon, then my god, do you need to pair it with the rocket gun, so you have the ability to challenge at range a bit more. I honestly would have been lost without it in some situations. And I'd also suggest running with a sidearm that has a fairly large ammo capacity, a solid reload, and quick switch to time, all things that the Peacekeeper doesn't have, which I was using for this footage because I just can't bring myself to remove it most of the time. Eventually this novelty may wear off. So overall, the RSC SMG has had a buff. It's now a fair bit better than before, it's still fun, it still feels powerful, and I'll still use it, but it's also still nowhere near the top tier weapons in the game. So what do you think? Are you interested in the updated RSC SMG? If not, what's your assault weapon of choice? Let me know in the comment section below. Now let's go over to the board of awesome for the epic people who allow you to get content from me full-time by supporting the channel on Patreon. They are the main reason you're watching this video right now, and I truly mean that, so thank you to everyone on here. If you want to join them on the Board of Awesome, the link to the Patreon page is in the description and in my pinned comment. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you don't want to miss future videos, turn on notifications with the bell button and select to always be notified on the options tab that should then pop up, and then feel free to like, share and subscribe. I'm GetGoodGuy, and I'll see you next time. Laters.